Sit down at a piano for the first time and it looks like a wall of identical keys, stretching off in both directions with no obvious place to start. Black ones, white ones, all blurring together. It feels like something you'd have to memorize key by key, and that's exactly what scares most people off. Here's the good news, though, and it's the kind of thing nobody tells you on day one. The piano isn't a random pile of keys you have to brute force into your memory. It's one of the most logical, most beautifully organized instruments ever built. Hidden inside that wall is a small pattern that repeats over and over, and once you can see it, the whole keyboard turns into a map. Every note has an address. Nothing on it is random. So before you ever learn a scale or a chord or a single song, this is the thing genuinely worth slowing down for: how the keys are actually laid out, and why that same layout shows up everywhere you look on the instrument. Get this one idea, and everything after it gets easier. Start with the names, because there are fewer than you'd think. Music uses just 7 letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. That is the entire musical alphabet, the whole thing. After G you don't reach for H, the way the regular alphabet would. You simply go back to A and start again, one step higher than before. So the names cycle round: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then A, B, C all over again, and it keeps looping for as long as the keyboard lasts. 7 letters, repeating forever. Every white key on the piano is one of those 7 letters, nothing more exotic than that. Which means the moment you can find them once, in one place, you can find them everywhere else by the same logic. The only real question left is where each letter actually sits among all those keys, and to answer that, we turn to the black ones. Look closely and the black keys aren't scattered at random at all. They fall into tidy little clusters: a group of 2 black keys, then a group of 3 black keys, then 2 again, then 3, repeating all the way up and all the way down. That grouping is your landmark, the thing your eye locks onto first. Here's how you use it. Find the group of 2 black keys, and the white note tucked just to the left of that pair is always C. Every single time, no exceptions. Then find the group of 3 black keys, and the white note sitting immediately to the left of that group is always F. So you've got 2 anchors now, C and F, and from those 2 everything else falls into place just by counting letters up or down. The black keys aren't decoration, and they certainly aren't there to trip you up. They're road signs, telling your fingers exactly where they are on the map. Once your eye learns to spot the 2 and the 3, you stop seeing a blur of keys and start seeing structure everywhere. Now notice what happens as you keep traveling up the keyboard. After you pass one C, you eventually arrive at another C, sitting higher up, and the pattern of black keys clustered around it looks completely identical to the first. That distance, from one C to the very next C, has a name: it's called an octave. And the 2 notes share a letter for a reason. They share a kind of sound. Play them together and they blend so tightly it almost sounds like a single note, just fuller and thicker. That's why a man and a woman can sing the exact same melody, an octave apart, and your ear hears them as singing the same tune rather than 2 different ones. Same letter, same character, just a different height. It's the same note, only brighter or deeper. And the keyboard simply stacks octave on top of octave, the identical 7 letters living again at every single level, like floors in a building where every floor has the same layout. So learn one floor and you've genuinely learned them all. A C in the middle of the piano and a C 3 octaves higher are, to your ear, the very same note wearing a different coat. Within a single octave, though, the steps between notes aren't all the same size, and this is where 2 small words really earn their keep. The smallest possible step anywhere on the keyboard, moving from any key to the very next key with nothing at all in between, is called a semitone. And here is the part that trips people up: that next key might be black, or it might be white. Most of the time, stepping a semitone takes you onto a black key. But from E to F, there's simply no black key between them, so those two white keys are only a semitone apart. Same with B to C. Now, stack two semitones together and you get the bigger step, called a whole tone, or a whole step. So C up to D skips over the black key sitting in the middle, which makes the gap a whole tone rather than a semitone. A semitone is the tiniest move you can make, a whole tone is just two of those moves bolted together. And every distance on the keyboard, every gap you'll ever measure, is built out of nothing but these two sizes. Put all of that together and finding any note stops being a hunt and becomes almost automatic. Say you want to find G. You don't count up from the very bottom of the piano, key by key. Instead you look for the nearest group of 3 black keys, drop down to the F sitting on its left, then simply walk up the white keys, F, then G, and there it is. Or say you want A instead. Same trick, different anchor, land on the C just below the pair of 2 black keys, then step up through the letters C, D, E, F, G, A. The pattern is doing the heavy lifting for you. And here's the real beauty of it, this exact trick works in every single octave, all the way up and all the way down the instrument. The C below the 2 black keys near the bottom and the C below the 2 black keys near the top are found in precisely the same way. You're never actually memorizing a giant 88-key keyboard. You're memorizing one small repeating shape, and then reading the rest of it, the same way you'd check the number on a door to know which room you're standing outside. Do this a handful of times and you'll stop counting altogether, your hand will just go straight to the note. So the keyboard was never really a wall after all. It's a map, drawn out in clusters of 2 and 3 black keys, repeating octave after octave, with 7 letters and the smallest of steps stitching the whole thing together. Spend just a few minutes finding C and F by feel, then pointing at a note at random and naming it, and that map quickly starts to feel like familiar ground. Once it does, the natural next move is to stop pointing at single notes and start walking specific paths across the map, choosing which notes to play and in exactly what order. Because that, when you get right down to it, is all a scale really is. And the major scale, the one behind almost every melody you already know, is exactly where we're heading next.